Why is this modern country being plunged into the dark ages? This is a map of South Africa's energy grid. And this is a map that shows what parts of South Africa's largest city, Cape Town, could be going without power. In fact, as much as a third of South Africa could go without power at any given time, with outages lasting as long as 2.5 hours. These outages usually affect between 2 and 17 million people. Now, to put this into perspective, the typical American experiences less than 10 hours of power outages a year. But in South Africa, more than 10 hours of power outages were scheduled for just this past weekend. Now, South Africa is one of the largest economies in Africa, so you might be asking, how could this possibly happen? Because things have gotten so bad that news outlets and government agencies have published other maps showing what time different parts of South Africa will be in total darkness. The constant power outages have crippled public services like police and fire, which in turn has fueled the country's surging crime rate. What's more, the lack of electricity has also led to billions of dollars in economic losses for the country. So the important question is, who's responsible for this? And at the heart of this crisis lies Eskom, a government-backed energy company that holds a monopoly on the South African market. Under Eskom's watch, power outages have become so commonplace that they've actually become a regularly scheduled event known as load shedding. And it's not getting better. In fact, there's even plans for power outages to hit more than 40% of the country if the grid continues to be overwhelmed. With constant news stories detailing the massive energy crisis that has gripped the country, it doesn't seem like Eskom is doing the best job of customer service. But the thing is, actually it's pretty great at it. You see, Eskom's real customer isn't a family or business in South Africa that relies on them to keep the lights on. It's actually a political class that Eskom answers to. And when it comes to managing these real customers, politicians and regulators, Eskom has done a great job. From multiple acts of theft, repeated cost overruns and delays in opening up new plants, to one multi-billion-dollar money laundering scandal after another, Eskom has been embroiled in controversy for more than 15 years. But there's one common theme across all of these scandals. They all involve politicians. Even the country's former president was embroiled in a corruption scandal involving Eskom. Eskom's own CEO even went so far as to declare that 4 separate crime organizations had entrenched themselves inside the state-owned enterprise. Collectively, these criminal syndicates are stealing over $50 million a month through acts of embezzlement, sabotage, and extortion. And this is why South Africa currently finds itself in an energy crisis in the first place. Every time Eskom has to spend money replacing stolen or sabotaged equipment, or overpays millions of dollars for supplies of oil and coal, there's almost always a politician on the other end of these contracts who is taking a cut of the profits. Ultimately, as long as the energy giant is more fixated on paying off politicians and regulators rather than actually providing electricity to the country, things are only going to continue to get worse.